Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is all about what are you resurrecting or rebirthing in your life now. So it could be a relationship, it could be the urge towards passion in a relationship after a period alone, it could be a career ambition, it could be a creative project, it could be a spiritual approach, it could be some long-held dream that you've sort of kept close to your heart but not sort of really enacted yet. Could be anything. Generally with it, it would suggest, because we're talking about resurrecting or rebirthing, that it's something that you're aware of, something that you may have tried before, or something, as I say, that is there. It's always been a cherished dream and now is the time to do it. So it could be any number of those things. It could be some combination. And the inspiration came from getting a beautiful new oracle from Rockpool Publishing called the Resurrection Oracle. So not hard to see how the inspiration came there. So this is 3 cards from that deck. And I also felt really drawn to the concept of a phoenix energy, like arising from the ashes. And so I find it really interesting that when I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me 3 cards for the piles from the Resurrection Oracle, that this colouring came out, because it's not the same colouring across the whole deck. There's different colouring in different cards. So I feel that this is very much picking up that phoenix fiery sort of energy. I feel this has a lot to do with passion, creativity, self-esteem, all the sort of colours in the chakras, particularly say the sacral chakra and the solar plexus chakra, maybe with a little bit of the root chakra as well. So feeling comfortable, secure, ready to express yourself, to come into your power, those sorts of energies I think are going to be typical across all the readings. So we're going to have a look at what this thing may be. Is it part of you? Is it a dream you wanted to manifest? Is it a relationship? Is it, as I say, some combination? We'll have a look at kind of the aspects of life that maybe are particularly being triggered to have this occur. Then we'll use tarot to look at things, and we'll use different oracle decks to show 3 key stages in what would be a resurrection type of process, and see how that's going to play out. So to help you find your pile, all piles go certainly to more than one if you wish. For pile number 1, we have Finding Your Spirituality, card number 25 if the numbers matter to you. For pile number 2, we have 31, Finding Your Niche. And for pile number 3, we have 28, Best Friends. So if any of those concepts really draw to you about something that you want to resurrect or rebirth or re-inspire, that probably makes the choice pretty easy. If you always go to a particular pile, by all means do that. And if you want to go to more than one, by all means do that as well too. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps as always in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you came to Finding Your Spirituality. There's a card here from the Blue Dragonfly, which will be the last card we look at in the reading. I'll just put that to the side for the moment. So we have the Resurrection Oracle card about finding your spirituality. We also have 2 astrology cards here to give us a sense about the area of life this might be pertaining to. And it sort of makes sense that we're talking about something that's very deep and transformative with Scorpio, that goes right to the core of you, again because of the colouring, and the colouring again is very similar here. I don't know whether one would always have associated, maybe you could associate Scorpio with the sort of sacral chakra and the solar plexus chakra. That kind of makes sense in a way, I guess, but certainly it's interesting that it's drawing on that colour energy here. I think there's something here that is almost like a sacred spirituality, a creative channeling of your spirituality and finding your power within that. But it is transforming from something. So Scorpio itself, has within its sort of, I guess, iconography or symbolism, the phoenix is associated with that. It is that transformative energy. It goes very deep, it goes to the depths, and then it rises. So I would feel from this that there has been at some point for you, a disillusionment around something spiritual, or a sense of being blocked in some way, or not understood, or in the wrong sort of cultural background, religious background, something like that. So this is something that's very core to you and who you are and where your spiritual power is, but this is a transformative energy. And so one of the aspects of this for you will be about finding the spirituality that is key to you. It's also meant to be easier now than it might have been before. So one of the classic things for this might be someone who was sort of grew up in a particular family that had a particular spiritual belief system that didn't accord with you, and then you move out of home and it's easier to do it. You could be in a workplace that has particular beliefs and ethics that didn't align for you, and you actually go to another one, so it's easier to do it. The transformation here is meant to be deep, but it's also meant to be easy. It's almost follow what is easeful, follow what feels right, follow what feels like it aligns, rather than what feels like there's blocks. Sometimes when we do a spiritual journey, we are meant to come across blocks. We are meant to kind of rise above them. But right now for you, for this resurrection energy, you've probably hit the block before, you've transformed, now you're ready to ease towards what is true to you. So, and I think also with Scorpio, there's a very profound understanding of human nature, psychology and so forth that is part of this, and understanding where to find your people, where to find the right sort of energy for you. There might also be a creative energy around spirituality. It might be how you can sort of communicate a very deep change energy through creative expression that again makes it easier than maybe coming at it direct. Like I almost feel as though you may have had, as I say, a very different way of looking at your spirituality, and there's an energy here of if you went at it front on and just sort of tried to argue the doctrine, that wouldn't have worked. But if you use it as a psychological thing in terms of some sort of creative process, you can actually better explain what you're trying to do. So for some of you, that will definitely be part of this. I think the other thing, though, is that there is a little bit of a warning here for you, and this is always the case when we're sort of arising from something, and it's from understanding what occurred. What was the block before? What did you need to change? And there may, in fact, be a double message here, because some of finding your spirituality and rising like the phoenix may be to transform from a sense that you wanted everything to come easily. So there might be a deeper level that you're being asked to go to. We'll see what we get with tarot and other cards here. So for some of you, you've been in probably dogma, doctrine that has been very difficult to be yourself. You now have gone through the transformative process, and what you rise with is an ease to now be true to your spirituality. But for others of you, there may be a call here to deeply transform. It's almost like if you kind of just followed the law of attraction and you wanted everything to be kind of simple and easy. I just have a vision board or whatever. This is a much deeper transformation at the level to actually align yourself better so that you can create what you want, as opposed to and understanding the world and understanding how to interact with the world rather than just thinking it should come easily. So for some of you, it's going to be that deep inner work that finds how to find the flow as opposed to just expecting it. And for some of you, it's moving away from doctrine and things that weren't right for you and that blocked you to find where you have more ease. So let's see what maybe the dominant of the two of those might be with tarot. So we're going to ask what what impacted the dream before? Why does this need to be resurrected? What was the problem before? Then we're going to have a look at why you're being called now to resurrect it. And then we'll see what is the new energy for you, the new version, the new dream, whatever it might be. So what was the thing that made you have to transform, have to go within, have to rise? What was the almost, using alchemical terms, the nigredo, the dark night of the soul, all that kind of energy? What requires you to now resurrect? Emperor, Five of Pentacles, Lovers, Page of Cups reversed, a Hierophant. Okay. So there's a couple of things here. First thing I would say with some of you, and Scorpio is a very much sort of like sexual energy. It's a very, very romantic, intimate sort of energy. Eighth house, also very sort of spirituality connected to that sort of principle and that sort of energy for you. For some, there has been a relationship that was not what it appeared to be. You might have come from very different cultures, and this could have been the tipping point. And for some, if that's the case, you may actually have felt shut out, but you may be able to resurrect the relationship by shifting some of your beliefs, and possibly particularly if the other person does as well. But But for many of you, I think you're finding your spirituality through a disappointment potentially in love, or something that you felt shut out from. Like that's the feeling by and large with this. Now, for some of you, it could be, as I say, kind of something from your family line, particularly your paternal line, and belief structures and so forth that didn't fit you, that didn't allow you to follow your heart, that made you feel like the naughty child who was sort of put in time out, and that has impacted relationships in general for you. And that could be saying, moving out of that energy. But for others, it's about a dominant culture. So I don't think, to be honest, that this is about the secondary thing that I said for most of you. I don't think that for most of you, you thought that everything should be really easy and now you're having to go very deep. I think you've had to go very deep, triggered by external factors. 3 of those cards are major arcana, which always suggests to me external factors. And in fact, even with the Page of Cups reversed, I often think that court cards are other people. There's a real sense that other people were the issue here, other beliefs, dominant beliefs, structured beliefs, and you felt shut out. So you go within and find the truth of you. You find your spirituality that is true for you, and you find where that's more easeful. So I think it is feeling shut out from something, or not understood, or not able to align, and something that was quite dominant around you. And as I say, for a lot of you, this could have been, in growing up in childhood, belief structures around and so forth. Some of you, it's happening at work too, with the Emperor and the Hierophant. But by and large, I think this is you finding you, as opposed to, and for many of you, you may not necessarily have been born into your soul family. Doesn't mean that there isn't value and love in your family, but there's something different in you, and this is you finding that. So what has called you to see this? What now has happened, or is happening now, so that you are going to rebirth and resurrect your spiritual calling and who you truly are? Pile 1. Knight of Wands, Ace of Wands, High Priestess, 6 of Cups. Yeah, it's for most of you, this is moving away from the past, childhood, old systems, everything. It's time. So that's part of it. It's just time. For some of you, moving out of home, you might be moving out of home for the first time. Or you could have broken up a relationship. If this wasn't your family, it was a love relationship, you may have broken up. You might have realized that you couldn't align. Or there's a passion that's come through with someone that you think you could, that those things can be shifted because the blocks aren't there. So it could be, for a number of you, it could be a new passion coming in that's done that is not like the past and allows you to be true to your spirituality. For some, you've moved out of home or something like that. And for others, it's like a very big creative surge. It's like you're able to find your voice, as I say, whether it's in a workplace, whether it's around the culture that you're in, creatively, to be true to your spirituality. And it's like you're breaking free from the old sort of like creative limitations. So you've decided you're going to pursue something creative that shows your spiritual energy, and you're expressing yourself in that way. And it's almost like it can be hidden if necessary. So it's like if you were in a very strict religious family and you wanted to talk about, I don't know, witchcraft or something like that, it's like you could do it creatively. And you're finding your way to do that. And that's the way that you find a capacity to express yourself. So for some of you, it's triggered by just moving away from the past and starting to sort of see the new stuff that's coming through and working out what you want to express and how openly. For others, it could be a new love relationship. There's a number of ways this is occurring, but it's all to be able to work out how you, I think, creatively express something new spiritually. So then, what energy is key to the new version of you, or the new dream, whatever it is that is arising? 6 of Swords, Justice, Queen of Swords. Wow, now this is interesting because this is about psychology. This is what I'm getting. Because there's a creative energy to this, a creative expression, and certainly for some of you with all the 2 swords and then with a sort of like an air-like major arcana, there definitely could be something like writing or communicating in some way that actually rebirths this and finds your spirituality and brings the message out more easily. So that definitely is there. But the new version of you is much clearer about what you believe. And there is psychology involved. So Scorpio is the kind of forensic psychologist of the zodiac. It really understands people, maybe to a uncomfortable degree sometimes, though you have the easeful energy of like a creative expression. But this is about you psychologically knowing what your path is, being able to do what is just, and being strong in that, knowing that your message, your spirituality, who you are is very well developed. So even if you are very young and you're leaving home, you're very smart and you're very well developed and you understand human psychology extremely well. And this is about you bringing that into justice and being more calm about your beliefs. So if you have had like a suppression of that by the people around you, or if you've been in relationships where somebody tried to dominate you and your spirituality, you're very clear now on who you are and how that dynamic occurred and how to bring things into balance so it's more easeful in the future. It's sort of like if you had been dominated or tricked or any of those things won't happen again. You're very, very clear. The new you can articulate it incredibly well, has it very well balanced, and has aligned your understanding of psychology and your thought processes with your spirituality. I think it's kind of happened creatively or through passion in some way, but nevertheless, you have a fully blown, clear philosophy that's associated with this. You could articulate it extremely well if you needed and wanted to. Okay, so let's have a look at the process that did this. So what I felt was that there's 3 stages of this. The first is almost what I would call, if you're going to have a resurrection, then it's almost like you have to go into the tomb and let go of something in the past. So we're going to draw a card from the Haunted Manor deck for that. Then there is the kind of new inspiration that brings the energy of the new life. And then we're going to look at spiritually in particular, but like the new you as well. So there's 3 different oracle decks I'm going to use for this. So firstly for you, the thing that moved you into, in a sense, the tomb within, to do the contemplation, the dark night of the soul, whatever preceded this, the energy there for you is hearth, value your worth. So you were being called in to value your worth. The hearth and home. Now, hearth and home, very interesting on that kind of level. So there is something, I think, for most of you that has to do with either your upbringing or a recent relationship where you were living together, something about the home. And there's something about the 4th house for you as well too. Who are you at your core? Your spirituality needs to connect with who you are at your core. But it is saying value your worth. Something made you feel lesser than, or that your spirituality didn't fit in, or made you feel isolated. That's the thing that hid some of this away. But the rebirth comes from valuing your worth, from knowing that even if you felt you did mistakes in the past, they're in the past and you've learnt from them and you can move forward. But I think for most of you, this is about creating the home and the place for your spiritual energy, your true expression, and where you would feel safe and valued. This is the key thing. As I say, you've got a very strong idea about what that means and a very keen sense of what is just and isn't just. I think for many of you, you might have been, as I say, in very restrictive environments on one level or another, or even in narcissistic environments, but you're coming out of that, but you had to go within to reclaim your self-worth. So then the inspirational energy that has taken you out of the hearth energy and into the world again, or is making you rise. Emerald, fortune, luck, luxury. It may well be, if it hasn't already happened, something lucky is going to happen that does this. For some of you, it's new love. Emerald is, the heart chakra. So for some of you, it's that energy. New love actually draws you out, particularly if some of this was about a disappointing love relationship. New energy is coming in with that Ace of Wands, as we saw before. But it's also understanding with the blessings that your spirituality, you make your own luck. That others limiting you, like it's the psychology of it. It's understanding the psychology of it, in a sense, creates your own luck. So I think that whatever limited you, limited what you could achieve, limited who you could be, you've gone in and you've reknown your worth. And as such, you can make your own luck now. And you can also have a very open heart about it, because you're not going to be drawn into something that spiritually diminishes you in the future. So then let's see what the new you is like on a kind of spiritual and power level coming through this resurrection. Wow, the spirit guide, a connection to nature and animals. So you definitely will have strong spirit guides, but you're actually meant to guide others. Now, this makes a lot of sense. Scorpio is a deeply spiritual sign. Like all signs have spirituality, but Scorpio kind of owns the mediumship, the sort of occulty energy around that. I think that you will actually exude that sort of understanding. You will be able to help people connect to what is more easeful and more true to their own spirituality. Very strong sort of connection to nature with you. So you may, just as an aside, sort of develop sort of animal communication, that sort of thing, or animal spirit guides are very important to you, but you're meant to be a guide because your understanding of this creates the ease that we want to have with spirituality, to the understanding of the psychology of the environment we're in, who we're dealing with, and who we truly are. So I think you're meant to guide others. This is why it's very important that you knew your worth. It's very important for you to find your spirituality, because I think many of you are meant to make your fortune through being spirit guides on one level or another. So that's pretty interesting. So we're going to just get a little bit of astrology for each of these stages, just to see what kind of astrology energy is involved. So for the hearth thing, when you went into the, as I say, I'm going to say when people went into the tomb, you know, when they went into the deep within before the resurrection occurs, we get the sun in the 10th house Capricorn. Okay, it's interesting we've got the Emperor. For some of you, this has been in work. I think for a lot, there's like a love relationship or your upbringing. But for some, it's about work. For some, it's about leadership. That you know, for some of you, you may have actually found that your depth of understanding and ability was being blocked by those that were threatened by that, and they used leadership and the powers of the world against what you were trying to do. They made you feel lesser than, they made you feel closed out with the Five of Pentacles, the doors closed on going ahead. So understanding your own value in terms of leadership and creating in the world is very important. Then we also have Moon in the 11th house. So yes, and the connections with others, community, connections with people emotionally. Some of this energy, like I feel what this is saying is that this group is meant to be spiritual guides, meant to be spiritual leaders and teachers. And you have been either in a workplace or a family or something which has been threatened by what you could bring through. Your Scorpio energy, whether it's strong in your chart or not, you have a very strong Scorpio imprint. You are very perceptive, very able to read people, and that can be a bit scary. People get scared of Scorpio. I mean, I'm strongly Scorpio, so I don't think there's anything wrong with Scorpio, and I think it's a wonderful sign, so I'm just a bit biased. But I do think that it can threaten people sometimes. So I think that part of this is understanding within both your social group and also your career in particular, that it's important to find people of a similar intensity and so forth who are not going to be threatened by what you do. And it's a kind of there is a thing here to balance out between being the leader and standing alone and the need to belong. And you do need to work that out, because it's almost as though if somebody wanted to block your leadership, they would trigger the emotion about needing to belong. So it's understanding that. Again, Scorpio understands what is going on in power dynamics, and there is something about power dynamics. So then in terms of the inspiration to create your own luck, we have Leo rising, very, very captivating, as it says, very charismatic, very creative. Like there's a creative element to this. It's very well thought out, but there's a creative element, and you are your own product. You know, you will draw people to you. There's a lot of charisma in what you have. And Uranus in the 6th house. Okay, you're also a change maker, but it's a change maker to help others. This is the spirit guide energy, the inspiration, all of that kind of thing. You have a kind of charisma, you'll draw people in. I think in actual fact what's going to happen for you is that when you resurrect this energy and you become a bit of a spirit guide, at first people are going to be drawn to you wanting to be like you, but you are going to then go, no, how I serve you is helping you integrate and find out who you are with Uranus there. So you'll challenge them a bit because you understand their psychology. You'll see this very clearly. You want them not to be a mini-me, which is good. It's very healthy if you don't want mini-me's. You don't want a mini-me. You want them to be similarly inspired to find out who they are and to integrate who they are and integrate their spirituality in their own unique way. Uranus is that. Uranus is the most unique aspects of ourselves in many ways. So it's interesting, it says, though, that with it in the 6th house, strong feelings of external disapproval, you've risen above that. There's definitely been that kind of energy, and you will help others rise above that. Then let's have a look at you as the spirit guide. We have Aquarius rising. So obviously you can't be both those things. This is just energies we're talking about, but you could be either of them, and that could be a bit of a confirmation. This is more transpersonal. The thing that you create your own luck and your own vibe with, you come out of this and know your worth and come through that, is very much about who you are and your charisma. The thing that draws people to you is that you also can make this transpersonal. You can make this bigger. You can help people be an individual. I think you've had to struggle to be an individual, and you're going to help other people to be that. And we get Jupiter in the 4th house. Okay, and this will reconcile you to having a good home, a hearth and home, to find the right home. Through doing this, you find the right home, the right relationships where you belong, and it becomes easeful. It becomes a blessing. Jupiter is blessings in many ways. So you can find your own soul family, your own soul home, your own perfect workplace. Whatever it was that pushed you away was threatened by you, pole 1. Whatever will welcome you, because you're helping them and you're a guide, will be the right energy for you. And you are meant to be a spiritual leader with that group. You're not meant to just be one of them, that you have an actual very specific role. And this is why it was important for your resurrection to be about finding your spirituality again, reclaiming that with your very, very strong and astute psychological understanding. Okay, so let's get you a couple of signs to watch out for. In dreams, synchronicities, meditation, whatever it might be, that you're on the right track, that this resurrection is happening. Pay attention if you see these signs to what you were thinking about at the time. It's going to be important. If you dream about it, think about the dream interpretation, what else the dream could be telling you. If it shows up in meditations, really think about what this sign meant in the meditation, because this is a way that Spirit's talking to you. So firstly, neon sign, ambition, fame, wealth, like there is something very attractive about you. For some of you, you will be very well known for this. So, if you see a neon sign, see what it's saying. If there's a neon sign around, pay attention to that. Pay attention to anything that seems to be flashing at you with words or images and things like that are really important. But you are meant to be successful. This is why it's sort of saying this. And I think you threatened people. That's why I think you have to rise again, to find your people where your glamour and your spiritual understanding actually will be accepted. And healing, revealing hidden gifts, bringing them to the forward, sensing vibrations, awareness, therapy. I think, some of your spiritual guidance will help and heal others. But I think when you are feeling healed from this, when you are feeling more that you're coming out of the hearth, out of the tomb, and you're starting to feel, yes, I can draw people in. I don't have to worry about what other people think. When that healing is occurring, that's going to be a very strong sign for you as well. The resurrection is occurring. Okay, we had one last thing, which is a wild card around all of it, which was underneath the resurrection oracle thing, along with the astrology. So let's just see what that is to close out the reading. Wow, man on fire. So I don't think it really matters about gender. There are two things. There's woman on fire and man on fire. In either one, there's sort of stuff around passion. So certainly if you're looking for love, you'll probably find love through this. But I think it's more than, I think this is the Leo rising. I think that you are going to be like a living embodiment, actually, the Phoenix, between the scorpionic energy and then this sort of like very sacral and solar plexus chakra type imagery for finding your spirituality through creativity, through passion. You're going to light up the sky, basically, just like a neon sign. Your name and lights. If you wanted to be very, very well known around your spirituality, this is what it's saying you can do. If you resurrect, you move past worrying about the more rigid or restrictive things that have happened before, and the opinions of others. You're going to create a movement or a dynamic or something like that, but it's going to help others. But it's also going to potentially bring passion into your life, whether it's in love or just the passion of what you're doing spiritually. So it's very exciting. I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to Finding Your Niche, which is kind of a perfect card for a resurrection energy. It's like finding within a broader framework what is truly you. And maybe after, since this is a resurrection, after either trying to sort of fit in or be something that wasn't your niche, or trying to sort of be very broad in something that you were doing, and you needed to sort of niche down or find out what is intrinsically you. What is interesting here, we have, as a context astrologically, we have Libra first around balance. Now, this could mean a number of things. It could mean that the energy that you're resurrecting yourself from has got something to do with where you fit within a social group, social media, social group, friendship group, polite society, whatever you want to say. Libra certainly has a lot to do with all of those sorts of areas. It could also be some sort of legal matter. So some of you may have been dealing with a legal matter about, something you did creatively and copyright and what was yours and all that kind of thing. There could have literally been something like that that's triggered all of this. And for others, I think it's just kind of having a balanced intellectual way of understanding something, of working out what is right for you, finding your niche, finding the place for you that is right within, a profession or a creative industry or something like that. And this is all about you finding your life's purpose. So what I feel like to give you an example of this energy, and you don't have to fit this example at all, but you could be a writer, for instance. And you could have written sort of something that you thought, this is going to break all these genres and it's going to cross boundaries and do all this sort of stuff. And then what ended up happening is that it was too much. It was kind of a bit of everything, and therefore was a little bit hard to market or sort of place. And so there could have been a sense of, okay, I need to rethink that because, I've found a block. I've got to kind of niche into what's my strength here. Am I a really good writer of romance? Am I a really good writer of speculative fiction? Am I a really good writer of crime novels or whatever it might be? Rather than trying to do them all at once, which would just confuse the energy and make it very hard to find your people, your potential readership, whatever that might be. And in doing that and in experiencing the block that came from trying to be all things, and making that very intellectual decision to find your niche, you find what your true purpose is. So say you were deciding amongst those three, and in the end you tilted towards romance. It may be that your true purpose was to bring out messages about love and help people understand love matters and so forth. So it's just an example. You don't need to do that at all. But this has something to do with, in a social framework, a career framework, an intellectual framework, what you're resurrecting here is what is uniquely you, not what everybody else is, not what everybody else thinks, not what everybody else says. This is what is uniquely you that only you can do really, really well. And what I like about this energy is once you find your niche and your purpose, you don't go off tilting at windmills trying to be someone else. Often when we're trying to find out who we are, we look at other people and we try and almost be them, because then that can... we think, that's what it is to be successful. That's what it is to be confident. Once we find our own niche and our own purpose, we know the only way that we can do that, the only way we can be happy, the only way we can be successful, the only way that we can truly be fulfilled is to be the best, me that I am, sort of thing, not kind of to be another version of someone else. So I think this is for you, is being done in a social construct. So I would say that there's something about finding who you are within a social group, or as I say, social media, or it could be like a workplace, like a professional network, and finding that balance and articulating it and understanding it in a way to know what your purpose is, and that only you can really do this thing. You're here of a time, of a moment, with a particular set of skills, that sort of thing. So let's get the tarot and get a bit more information. So what we're going to start with first is, why do you need to resurrect? What happened that made you have to think about finding your niche and finding your purpose? Then we're going to have a look at, what has called for the actual, having gone through that, what called you to go through the rebirthing, the resurrection, and then we're going to look at what the energy of the new you or the new dream is as a result. So what triggered the need for it in the first place? So, intrinsic in this set of readings is that something didn't work. Something didn't quite take, something didn't feel right. So what are we looking at there for you, Pile 2? Page of Pentacles reversed, Six of Wands reversed, Moon reversed, Temperance, Queen of Wands. Okay. So I think for most, it has to do with like career matters or material matters in some way with the Page of Pentacles reversed. It's like there wasn't a very clear idea of what you were doing. So another thing is like a business plan. If you went into doing, I don't know, social influencing or whatever, you started a YouTube channel, but you didn't have a plan of all the things that you wanted, like the clear, this is who I am, this is what my brand is, this is what I'll focus on, this is what my niche is. You try to be all things to all people again, it doesn't have a plan, it doesn't have coherence, it doesn't grow. There's something in a lack of planning around that stopped you from getting the recognition that you deserved. Like, you are very talented, it's not anything to do with that. So the rebirth concept or the energy comes from you understanding that. It's like it solved a mystery, and it's sort of spirit saying you kind of had to go through that to get there. It's not like you would have necessarily realized this without having the block in the first place. So don't give yourself too hard a time about that. The reality is you deal very well with that. It's one of your strengths. So that when you sort of see that block, you look for what would bring things into balance. So this fits again with Libra, and it's very, for you, it's partly sort of emotional, but it's mainly intellectual. You've got a very good way of kind of like analyzing and bringing things into sort of balance on that level. Because you do know that there is something that only you can do. You do know what it would be to be truly self-actualized. I think the Queen of Wands is the self-actualized card of the whole tarot. She knows who she is, and only she can be that, and only you can be what you are. This is the point about this. So it showed you, you have to resurrect that because you know that's what you want. But it was like you kind of, whether you were just sort of generally curious and you just wanted to do all these different things and you have lots of talents, like this could very well be someone who is multi-talented, and that is its own struggle. I've known a few people like that, and it is a struggle because there's so many different things they can do that they often don't really know which to do. There's something in this, though, that almost told you what not to do. Like, I think that the main thing here was like, I think these things, no, like I'm good at them, but I'm not the best, or I'm not so unique. There's something that out of this is telling you what your niche is, where you do this and no one else does it like you do. And that's what you're meant to be finding. So let's see what's caused for the rebirth and what is called for that. If that's the block was kind of not having a good enough plan and understanding of what would bring you recognition, and so it blocked you getting to the recognition. What's now calling for the rebirth, the finding of your niche? Tower, wow, something big did. Five of Wands reversed. Chariot reversed. Knight of Cups. Okay, so some big shift occurred. Something really didn't work. Oh, excuse my stomach if you hear that rumbling. I obviously should have lunch soon. Something obviously didn't work. Something fell apart. Something wasn't firmly enough established. So again, to give you an example, if this was, say, you were doing a YouTube channel, it was like it just didn't work. You've kind of almost got to go back to the beginning, start it again, because it's like it wasn't well enough planned, and so the foundations weren't strong enough. And you don't want to have that conflict again. Like, the good thing about you is that you are very creative, you're very passionate. In the end, you kind of go, okay, I'll take that in my stride. How do I avoid that happening again? And so you've analyzed what the roadblocks were. And this is the big thing. And it's knowing that you need a single thing. You need a thing to be really focused on, because look at this Chariot. It's like heading in one direction. So all this color and energy around it, but it's very focused. You know that was the issue. And this is something that really matters to your heart. Now, the other thing that could have happened around this for some of you is that there could have been a love connection, like a very powerful new attraction to someone, and you want to be seen and you want to be recognized. Like maybe they are doing something in the field that you would like to do. You want to be recognized for what you can do as well. And that is really triggering it as well. So for some of you, it might be, I want to find my niche and I want to show myself. I want to be part of a power couple, not just a fan or something like that. That's a possibility as well. But otherwise, it's like this is showing you what your heart is by kind of showing you what doesn't hold together, because it isn't what's in your heart, so to speak. It isn't what is intrinsically you. So what new energy, for you arises, is rebirthed about this. What new you or new energy or new dream arises from this rebirth? Page of Wands, Four of Swords, Seven of Swords reversed. Okay. This is you understanding. This is you as strategic. Okay. So it looks like you kind of were really enthusiastic. You did a bit of everything. The foundations weren't strong enough and it just didn't hold. So you've sort of gone away and gone within. And the new you knows that that's important. It knows that going within and being very clear, like on a meditative level, about what you are. See these peacock feathers around this, like on an alchemical level, being really true, having gone through that kind of dark night of the soul allows you to have that clarity. So realistically, to not come out and say or do anything until you've truly developed what is different about you. That it's like you're not going to go back out instantly tomorrow and say, here it is. You're going to give it the time and energy and thought, going back to Libra, before you do it. And then you know you've got sort of something that's sufficiently developed and sufficiently focused to move forward. So I feel for many people who don't know you well, it's like you might almost withdraw from being seen for a while. But it's really while you're sort of niching down, understanding what it is, finding your purpose, and being really realistic with yourself. Like one of your real strengths is you're really honest with yourself. And you don't kind of take any prisoners around that. It's not like you kind of like beat yourself over the head all the time. You're realistic and balanced about it, but you also know if you've done something that you think didn't work, you're not going to keep trying to prove that it all worked just so that you were never wrong. You understand that there's nothing wrong with being wrong. The only thing that's a problem is when we don't accept that we were wrong and then we just keep tilting at windmills and so forth about it. So you will go within for a while. And then you will come out with a very clear idea about what your niche is and what you're creating. And it'll connect to your life purpose because it's coming from within and it's realistic. Okay, so usually what happens with this is almost 3 stages. So I wanted to reflect that. I wanted to reflect firstly almost the stage of going into what I would call the stage of going into the tomb. If we're going to be resurrected, we first of all got to let the past separate out from us. And we've got to go through the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to say. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at then what the inspiration is that calls you out of the tomb, so to speak. And then we're going to look at the actualized you on a kind of spiritual power level coming out of it. So let's first of all look at the energy or time in the tomb, the thing pre the resurrection. A little bit more about what you are facing now if you're in that, or you faced to get to this point. Gargoyle, silence your inner demon. Okay, so you have to go within because there's a certain sort of like energy, whether it's ambition or fear of the other or whatever it might be. I mean, gargoyles tended to guard places that were holy, places that were sacred. So I think there's a kind of energy here of knowing what is the most precious thing to guard, and what have you learned from whatever this sort of breakdown of things were. What are you now defending? But it is also your inner demon. Where is the doubt? You also need to kind of move away from the doubt. And I think for most of you have. I think that's what this is saying. I think it's saying that probably most of you have gone through this sort of like the darker night of the soul around this, where something not working made you doubt yourself and your own inner demons. But you were able to silence that and be realistic and understand, okay, this is just telling me I can't be everything. What can I be? What is the pure me? But that's a very important stage for you, to not think you're defined by the past, but you're only defined by what you do in the future and how you really focus what you do in the future, which then brings you to an inspirational level. So when you come out, when you've silence those inner demons, and you've used that energy to protect yourself rather than, and to protect that which is precious and which is your niche, rather than like having a go at yourself. The inspirational energy for you is teal, creativity, pregnancy, sacred feminine, something very creative, something very pure, something very much of the heart, but also of how you express. If you think of teal as a color, it's a combination of blue and green. So the throat chakra blue and green being the heart, being able to speak something that's closer to your heart and using your creativity in that way, bringing something, literally bringing something new into being. So it's like owning what you would express and what you would feel about it, rather than the thing that is the, if you think of pregnancy, it's like you have to focus very much on the child. So it's what child of creativity are you bringing into being by understanding your niche. And then in terms of a spiritual power energy for you, the forest mystic, grounding and enlightenment. So really knowing who you are, really connecting to your nature. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, connecting to your nature. And look, there's almost like a similar headdress going on there. There's who are you truly? What is your nature? And the mystic is connected to the divine, so connected to your divine purpose. It's like that kind of connection, your nature and your purpose and your divine connection. They marry together in finding your niche. Again, none of us can be everything. None of us can. There are people who are a bit like polymaths, and you might be a bit like that, I think. But even within that, there's probably one thing that is the key niche that you're meant to come forward with now, and is really what you want to express and really what is close to your heart. So it's choosing that. And look, it may even be for you one niche for now, and then 10 years from now, then that could be another niche, which is using a different skill set. That's all fine. But right now, your life purpose is connecting to your true nature, your true kind of mystic sort of sense of who you connect to at the divine level. So let's get a little bit of celestial help there. Let's have a look at some astrology for each of those stages. So for that time in the tomb, when you had to kind of silence your own inner demons and your own self-doubt from whatever didn't work, we have Venus in the 9th house. Well, some of you, it was around love. Like there's been a bit of a love pattern in all of this. Though I still think that primarily this is about you finding your voice, finding your niche, finding your purpose. But it could have been love that made you doubt, somebody who didn't hear you, didn't support you. That's a possibility. But otherwise, I think it's like being able to be adventurous and a lover to yourself in your belief structure with Sagittarius. So it's what do you love, so that you can express what you love as you come out. We also have Sun in the 9th house. Yeah, there's a lot about the 9th house. What is your spiritual? This is why we've got the mystic. What is that? Like, who are you spiritually? That's a big part of finding the niche where it really matters. What are your beliefs and what would expand you in the right way? Sagittarius in 9th house is always about expansion into the world. You are very idealistic. You are very adventurous. But what marries those two things for your life path, for your North Node as well, for your heart and for your life path, so that you express the right things. So let's see what we get around teal, around the inspiration itself. Mercury in the 8th house, Scorpio. Okay, so this is the self-knowledge. This is turning the intellect and the expression towards what you know of yourself and also what you know of the occult. I think for some of you, this is about spiritual. Your niche may be spiritual, maybe particularly occult and spiritual, or Scorpio could be very much around relationships. So some of this may be around your ideas around relationships. Some of you may be doing something in your life purpose that's around that and around the heart and expressing the heart. But having a little bit of mystery, mysterious agenda, Mercury in the 8th house and Scorpio, good idea. Not showing anything too much until it's ready. A little bit of a kind of a tease campaign almost for what you want to bring out and show to the world. And we have Mars in the 5th house in Leo. So very creative again. Actions are creative. Creativity has a lot to do with this. Yeah, and be proud. Be proud of what you're doing. Don't let whatever went wrong get in the way of that. You really do have a niche. You really do have a talent. Be proud of that. Act towards expressing that. And then around being the forest mystic, Uranus in the 12th house. So there you go. Very spiritual, very occult, very, very psychic, actually. I think for some of you, this could be, if it's not literally that your niche is in spiritual and occult matters, you very much use that ability to find what that niche is. But yeah, behind the scenes, like there is a very mystical side of you that even when you bring this niche out, that is part of this, and there's a big change energy you bring in, but it's not as overt. It might have been that you tried to be very overt and shift the dial too quickly, and now this is showing you a different way to do it. And Sagittarius rising. Yes, there's a lot about Sagittarius. You may have Sagittarius strongly in your chart. Otherwise, it's about something new. It's about the new life path. There's nothing more grand as an adventure than following your North Node. Like what are you heading towards? What adventure do you want to be on? What would be the one place, the one thing? All of these things, like if you think about that, distilling each thing, in terms of ambition, ability, direction, down to the one thing in each of those, and you bring it all together, that's going to show you your niche. That's going to show you the way, because you really can do so many different things. A lot of what you've got to do is sort out what is the thing, because you can't do all of it all at once, but you can do one thing really, really, really well, pile 2. Okay, so let's see a couple of signs that might come through when you're really resurrecting and you're finding your niche and your life's purpose. These could turn up in dreams, synchronicities, meditations. Just pay attention to the context and what the overall message might be to you. Hotel, travel, escape, transition. I'm going to put this over there with Sagittarius. This may be traveling within, like traveling towards your North Node, but there could be for some of you something about travel, being out in the world. That could be a big part of this. If you're dreaming about being in hotels, and it's feeling like a transitional period, you're feeling a bit insecure, pay attention to the nature of it. Hotels are a bit like houses and things like that in dreams. It often is actually an exploration of you. So again, we're talking about an exploration of you. What is it telling you? And, alien. Where have you felt different? Because that's almost your niche. But I also think, there might literally just be some synchronistic signs. If you sort of see something about aliens, you hear songs about aliens, you see pictures of aliens, you see YouTube things coming up that talk about, aliens, and ancient mysteries and so forth, any of those things, I think that could be telling you something. If it turns up in dreams or meditation, it's probably kind of letting you understand what is different about you, which is going to be the thing. You might actually have felt with Libra that what was different was the problem, and you had to suppress that to fit in, and that hasn't worked, and you've really got to find what is different about you, because that's your niche. So pay attention to that. So lastly, we had a card from the Blue Dragonfly that was under the first 3. This is just a wild card energy to bring it all together for you. So for you, midnight breakfast, alternative solution, expect the unexpected, plan B. Yeah, this is not... Whatever your niche is probably not the thing you were thinking, or it was almost maybe a substrata of what you were trying to do. Your plan B is actually your niche. It's actually your direction. And I think a lot of it might come to you in dream states and things like that. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to the signs, because your plan B is actually the plan A, and it's the thing that you need to resurrect and rebirth to truly follow your purpose and shine. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the intriguing one of best friends, which to me sort of immediately made me wonder whether what is resurrecting or rebirthing is some old friendship, some old relationship, something like that you separated out from and is coming back, or maybe one that was incredibly close at one point and it kind of cooled and is coming back. So there's definitely that sort of sense potentially around this and so forth. But it could also be a shift in what you would want as a best friend, or a closeness, or how you want to be as a best friend. It's very interesting when we see the 2 astrology cards that come with it. Saturn return could mean literally that an old friendship, or potentially lover who was like a best friend, but an old relationship is coming back. Like I think for some of you, there is a resurgence of a friendship or a connection or a relationship that really mattered. And this is good. And with it, there's a kind of a sense of maturity. So there could have been a falling out, or as I say, it could just have been that life took you in different directions and now you're coming back together. So that's really lovely. Whatever it is a very liberating force, is a very expanding force for both of you. I think for some of you, it could literally be either you or a person went out into the world and so you separated, and now it's sort of like you or the person has come back to consolidate, and that's where you can reconnect. Otherwise, if none of that sort of resonates, if you're thinking like, I don't really have a friendship that I lost, or one that I think is coming back, or a lover that I lost that's coming back, or anything like that, then I think you've really shifted in the sort of people you want to be close to. So for some of you, this could be that you've had patterns of making best friends or connections that weren't helpful for you, that were immature in one way or another. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you were immature. It might have been the other person, because Saturn return also suggests maturity. So there could be a sort of sense of shifting who you would want to relate to, because you've got a much clearer idea of who you are and who you want to be, and who supports your expansion and who doesn't. So some of you may be shifting away from a pattern of having frenemies to having true friends. That could be the other thing that's going on. So let's have a look with the tarot. So what we're firstly going to do is ask, what was the situation that made you need to resurrect in the first place? Like, this all have been a challenge or a difficult thing, something that's occurred that's made this energy important to resurrect. Then we're going to have a look at what triggers the resurrection, and then we're going to look at who you become, or what energy you bring in, or something like that. Whatever we're seeing needs to happen. So let's get a little bit of an idea. Are we talking about a friendship that was lost through the cooling of time, something that was a big breakup, or is it a very big shift in who you would be friends with? Like, what are we really looking at here? What caused you to, in a sense, go into the tomb, and from which you need to be resurrected so that you really do have the right relationships around you? So we have the Six of Pentacles reversed, the Hierophant reversed, Temperance reversed, the Chariot, Four of Swords reversed. Okay. I think for most of you, this is about the return of someone. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'll talk about it if it was a frenemy thing. But I feel like you had a great friend. You were very much equals, and you were both kind of a bit iconoclastic. You were, you and me against the world. It could have been a lover as well as a friend, though. I feel like friendship primarily, like really different. What was different? You were equally different, interesting, all that kind of thing. And you kind of together stirred everything up. But one or other of you had to move forward, had to be more in the world. So this does sort of feel like kind of there's an energy of something that was lost because of being out in the world and having to fit in with sort of something. So it's almost like there were two of you who were very different from the society you're in, something like that. And that was fantastic. But ambition, life, direction, or whatever separated you out because you couldn't, either you couldn't be as open about the friendship, or you couldn't be this very different sort of, as I say, iconoclastic, sort of wild energy if you were going to move forward. So I feel like what's happening is that it's like friends who did everything wild and interesting and different when they were young, then both kind of went in a direction towards their destiny, towards their career, towards all that kind of thing, and they couldn't do all that because they couldn't show that in the world to the same degree. So we're just pulled in different directions. Now for some reason it's coming back, like you're going to see this person again or whatever. Or you find a similar friendship and you're going to be wondering, how do I fit this into it? How do I have that and have what I've achieved in the world? If it's frenemies, then you may have thought that you were amongst equals and people who had a different viewpoint, but they really weren't. They really weren't. And they sort of like pushed you away, maybe even sort of like kind of like outed you in some way with something. There could be some energy, like some of you, there could have been something where you thought you had friends who understood you and saw you were different, accepted that, but they kind of outed you and like in a very unfair and unbalanced way. And that's making you know then, like, what would be the more mature friendship? What is more in alignment with who you are? So it is possible for some of you, it could be that. But I think for most, this is like the return of somebody. That's what it feels like. Or a return of a type of friendship, which for a long time, you know, ambition and life took you in one particular direction, but now you're more established and you can expand and look into that again and work out, what did that mean? You know, when I was young and I didn't really care about the rules and I was really exploring who I was, you know, can I find is there a friendship coming in now that gives me that same sense of anything is possible, me and them against the world sort of energy. So let's see what has triggered the wish to rebirth or resurrect that kind of energy and that kind of connection. Ace of Pentacles, Ten of Swords reversed, Nine of Cups, the Sun. Okay, there is a definite, like, I think it's actually probably a new friendship rather than a return, unless it's sort of somebody you knew very early in your career and you've now got a new job and you've come across each other again. That's a possibility. But there's sort of something here where there's a new opportunity, a new beginning, and it has a huge amount of potential. And you know that it kind of like fits with your life path. It kind of does fit with what was different and iconoclastic about you. It gets you back towards your dream. I feel like you've done a lot in your career, in the world, or whatever it is. You know, you've done a lot. And it's like it's been a really exhausting, you know, last decade or so is what it looks like. And now it's like there's some new opportunity, some new friendship that allows you to reconnect to that side without feeling there's going to be all this drama. Like you've got enough of a solid position and a solid sort of like capacity to grow it to connect with that. And it's like it's reviving you. Like it's almost like you got old before your time, pile 3. It's like you were this wild and wonderful and iconoclastic and different and creative person and with your best friend, and it was just wonderful. And then ambition and life and demands and needing to be seen in some way or like something like that took you away from all of that, and it kind of made you old before your time. This is an expansion thing. This is to bring you back almost to first principles. So I think there's a new person coming in or someone returning that is triggering that rebirth of like, what was it all really about? You know, like somewhere along the line, it got caught up in just its own momentum and what, you know, how you were seen as opposed to who you truly were. And this is meant to re-trigger that and give you not partner in crime. It's not about you being a criminal, but like about, you know, a partner in your difference, a partner in what is wonderful about you. So what energy, you know, or connection or whatever is reborn by this? What are we really seeing is rising up? Yeah, who you are, being the star. King of Pentacles reverse, breaking free from old stuck things without losing what you've invested. Like this is what is nice. It's saying that you are getting much more in touch with who you are, that getting back to that star quality, because it is a kind of star quality. Breaking away everything that has outlived its usefulness in the material world to bring in the new, but also not losing the gains that you've had. So this is like you're now at a position where it's almost like you were this really wild, different sort of person, and then your ambition took you in a particular direction, and you had to kind of like move away from those sort of connections and appear a particular way. You're now established enough that something new coming in and a new person coming in or a person returning, you can actually own that and own who you are without losing what you've gained. But it's important. It's important to do it and to let this friendship in, because it allows you to sort of like detach from anything that's calcified a bit as a result of that. This is you becoming you again, having established yourself enough to do it, and finding, you know, a companion, finding a friend, finding someone who gets you. It's really nice energy, actually. So usually with something like this is a bit of a process. We go into the tomb. You know, if we're going to be resurrected, we go into the tomb first. So I'm using one deck to look at that energy for you. Then you kind of have the inspiration, what that looks like, and then the kind of culmination of the new you, the new energy. So let's first of all, again, it's a little bit exploring what happened where I think you kind of fitted in. And I think you needed to do it. I think it was important at that stage, but you lost a little bit of the spark of who you are, and this is to bring that back. So what was the thing that kind of, the realization of that put you in the tomb, that made you know you needed to rebirth new, you know, old relationships coming back or old types of relationships, that kind of thing? Dawn, the sun will rise. Oh, that's interesting. We've got the sun over here. I think most of you, this is like in career or something like this. I mean, it could have been fitting in and sort of family and social constructs, but I think for most of you, it's around career, around the material things of the world, around the responsibilities of the world. You've taken on a lot. You know, it could have been, you used to be free and young, and then you got married and you had kids, and, you had a career, and it's just all kind of a slog. But the dawn will also rise. It's sort of like the understanding that everything has its time with Saturn, and then Sagittarius is a much more freeing energy. So the dawn is coming through. You had to kind of go within to remember what the dawn even looked like, what that actually even meant to you. So then what's the inspiration energy coming off that? Lilac, immaturity, innocence, youth. It's going back to that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it's not really about being immature, but it's about understanding. I think it's about being the parent to your own inner child. It's like saying, yeah, what you were when you were young with your best friend is wonderful, and you can have that back again now, but with the maturity to give it its right place, to be able to not lose what you've earned, to be able to be seen to be who you truly are, and no longer to need parenting by anybody else, that you are, as I say, parent to your own inner child. And I feel like you've got the colouring there with Sagittarius is sort of like the connection to the higher realms that you would have with the crown chakra and so forth. There's a real connection to sort of the freedom that comes from being true to who you are. So then what do you develop into as a result of this, pile 3? Wow, the alchemist. Getting that balance right, getting all the balance, getting all the elements right. See, the thing is that this wonderful different person that you were, that you kind of put on the back burner so that you would, be successful in your career, or, look after others in, like a family situation or whatever it might be. That person was wonderful. All those elements are still there. I had to sort of go through Nagredo to be reborn. This of all of them is the most that is true to the concept that this is a rebirth. And then out of that, becomes, we've got the peacock feathers there. We have this sort of sense of coming out into the world with who you truly are. At one stage, you came out into the world with an approximation of who you were, because that was what you needed to move forward. Now you're getting ready to be the true alchemist, to get it all in balance and to come forward with who you truly are and connect to the right people for that. So let's get some astrology around each stage for you. So around being in the tomb phase, where you realize, you know what? I can see a new morning. I can see a dawn. We have Saturn in the first house. Yeah, so you're very Saturn return. Like, you took on a maturity. You were old before your time. And that's part of and because of Aries, because of sort of moving forward, ambition and everything, you were old before your time. And what that made you feel was feeling limited in self-expression. This is what you started to realize. This was the trade-off, and you're looking now for the freedom and the right connections for that. And Mars in the 5th house, Leo, yeah, because you are much more creative. You're much more active. You be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you could do. Don't hide it away. But also be proud of the fact that you did do the mature thing for the period of time that you needed to. You don't need to now. That's done. And that's why this new energy is sort of coming in. Maybe for some of you, it's being best friends with yourself and owning that. The kind of the discipline that you put on yourself, but also the action, the movement to be who you really are. So then when you're being the parent to your own inner child, we have Neptune in the 2nd house, Taurus. Yeah, like your psychic ability around, creating the life that you want. Struggles with material possessions. I think this was like, what do I risk? But you're not going to risk. That what is falling away is not the investment you've done. You'll be fine around material things. It's just that the things that actually calcified and stopped you moving forward. But I think a lot of this was around that. I think that whether it's, like around family or friends or just in general, you're really going, I have to be mature about this. I have to look at the bottom line. And then we have Saturn in the 3rd house, yeah, and like what you were communicating and so forth was all about the discipline that you had and the maturity that you had. But I think this is also showing that there is a maturity, there's a second level of maturity around this, which is now communicating who you truly are because you're ready. You've got the ability now. You don't have to worry as much. For some of you, you may be going through your 1st or 2nd Saturn return. So for some of you, you may be around about, like 28 to 30 or something like that. And you're really starting to construct who you are. And now you can kind of go back to what did I lose from my youth that I want to bring about? Others of you might be going through your 2nd Saturn return. I did that a little while ago. It's usually between about 58 and 60. And it's where you are freer. Because usually at that point, there aren't as many sort of financial issues to deal with. There's usually some, but not to the same degree. So that could be part of it as well. It could be allowing yourself that freedom to really be yourself because you're not as worried about career and so forth. Then with the you that you can become with the alchemist, we have Virgo rising, bringing all the elements together, kind of the healthy sort of thing. That's what the alchemist does. It brings and integrates all the elements, burns them down to their most essential properties and transforms them. Yeah, clear-headed. You know what you're doing. You're not going to lose what you've built. The alchemist knows what they're doing. And Uranus in the 6th house in Virgo as well. So, okay, so this is definitely saying that you will do things that are able to help others and are shifting the dial. It says strong feelings of external disapproval, but I think because you've got the Virgo rising here, you'll be able to integrate and clear that out so that you can actually do what you want. You were worried about that. I think you were worried about fitting in. I don't think you're going to be as worried about that at the moment because you're able to integrate the change and be very clear-headed about it. So if you were worried about that before, it's not going to be so much of an issue here. This is you've established yourself. You've got your bona fides, that kind of thing. Like people won't. Maybe earlier in your life you wouldn't have been able to be who you truly are, but now you can. Okay, so let's get you a couple of signs that this resurrection is really happening. And one of them might just be an old friend coming back or a new friend coming in that is so much like the kind of friendship you had when you were young and gives you that sense of freedom, liberation, being a bit wild, being a bit different. But let's see if there's any others. It could come up in dreams, meditations, synchronicities in the world. Face, identity, integrity, confidence, emotions, authenticity. Yeah, you showing your face, definitely. And also sort of the facial adornment here, like really being able to kind of show that is something here. But I think, like a new face, an old face coming back in, old photos that you might see of people that remind you of things. You could dream of faces. You could dream of the faces of people that you've known before. You could dream of a face of someone before you meet them and then you meet them. So pay attention to that kind of thing. Identity here is very important. Anything that's said around identity. And hotel, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. Travel, escape, transition, limbo. So the travel is a very Sagittarian energy. So dreams about travel, hotels, all of that kind of thing. Where would you like to go? Dreams about other places, other cities, other planets, whatever it might be. All of those things are important for you to kind of re-emerge from your cocoon, which is kind of what this feels like as well. Okay, so to finish off, there was a blue dragonfly card under the Resurrection Oracle card. So this is just a wild card to close out the reading for you. I am dreaming, and I have to get a couple of things there just because YouTube can be a bit funny about certain types of artistic expression. I am dreaming, illusion, embryonic thinking, great hope, daydreaming. I think that is just saying partly that you may feel at first and you may resist some of this change that can I do it or is it a dream? Is it a dream from the past? But I think it's also that a lot of the signs and symbols will come in your dreams. So pay attention to those because I think you do actually have the solid foundation for this. I don't think you should doubt. I think you're going to dream about a friend coming back or a new friend coming in, and I think that's going to be a very big sign. In any case, back to the wild, wonderful you. The time is right, pile 3. I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.